Let's now connect to the next conversation, and that has to do with the calls from Professor Michael Quay for the ban on importation of chicken, foreign juices, and other agri products, and what he makes of it. There's been a lot of calls made in this direction. But hey, that's someone's business as well. And so we'll unpack all of these issues and what it means to all of us here. Stay with us.
Industrialize, produce more by agric and preserve them. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the WTO arrangement which allow the free dumping of finished products in the developing nations. Of course, no industrialized nation in the world today, by its history, grew to that status without isolating itself. Therefore, by way of serious political economy studies, we should have to close our gates and lock out all these products that are dumped upon us as against the directives of the WTO. I emphasize that the right to protect infant industries is a global human right. Foreign juices, foreign chicken, and other agri products should be banned to save our nations here in Africa.
All right, welcome back to the show. Away from that sad one, let's do this. No matter how instructive it might be, as I said, people are into those businesses, and we have to unpack the issues and know what it will mean for us. Positive, negative news. What's the way forward? Bernard Nature Apia is a member of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders PR team. Michael Bray J, executive member and spokesperson, Exim Frozen Foods Association, Ghana. They are my guests today. Let's have that conversation. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Right. So what it means is that clearly, that particular call and other calls to ban the importation of these foreign goods are negative news to you.
I would say they are negative news.
Yes, they are.
They are negative.
Very well. So let's start off. Are they negative? Is there negative news? Those calls.
I would say it has this positive side and negative
side for you. Let me start off with Michael on this one. Now, there's the issue of domestication. There has been calls for the only way we can sustain our foreign exchange is to ensure that we do what is right here, grow and eat what we grow. And so if there's too much importation, then there's flight of if you like, whether the CD or the dollar, there's that fight and there's that flight. So this is not too difficult a call, is it? Tell me about it.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Right.
I think that and first of all, I really respect the professor's his opinions, his view. I think he's done so well for himself. However, I think that if you want to make such calls, you need to back them with some empirical data and knowing what really runs on the ground. Now, you would agree with me that there's no nation that's like an island. In fact, the kind of economies that we're developing into, you would hardly have a country that says, I import nothing. And so if you want to ban the importation of frozen foods, as it were in this case, you would need to look at what your local demand is, what your local production capacity is, and if you cannot meet that capacity, you obviously have to bring from somewhere. I mean, some of the biggest economies like China, they import chicken. It's not like you can do it all on your own. And so you need to know whether you have the capacity to do it. And if you have the capacity to do it, how are you doing it? And there are lots of things that you need to tick on the boxes when you want to look at the capacity. For instance, let's take frozen chicken or chicken. But you would know that you need to feed them. As it stands now, most of our feeds, we even import the feeds. And it's also instructive to note that our members, some of our members are into local production. So it is not just the case where we're just dumping everything here. In fact, there's an anti-dumping regulation that we have in Ghana too. And you don't just wake up and go import foods into the country. You go through some licensing regime, you go to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, they tell you what you can bring in and what you cannot bring in. And obviously, it is done with the mindset that they do not have to cripple the local industry. And so while we're for the local industry growing, we do not think that a simplistic view of banning importations of frozen foods solves the problem.
I see. Now, you talk about, before I go to Bernard on this, you talk about empirical data, I mean, the evidence.
Exactly.
What's the demand like?
Okay, so currently, I think our demand is around 400,000 metric tons. The local...
A day?
No, annually.
Annually?
Yes.
400,000 metric tons.
Yes.
Of frozen food.
Of frozen foods. Annually. And if you look at what the local production does, we do just about 57,871 metric tons annually.
57.
There's a huge deficit there that the local industry cannot feed into or cannot supply now. And so if you look at that and you say, let's ban frozen foods, what you actually do is that you ban frozen foods and you create another problem, the black market. People are going to import from Togo and smuggle it in here. Government is going to lose on revenues they get from the ports, from people who are importing these foods. And when we start to smuggle, you are unable to regulate the kind of foods that come in. So you do not even know the wholesome nature of the food. And so there's that risk of even giving people foods that are unwholesome to eat. I mean, like I said, it's a simplistic view to look at it and say, let's just ban frozen foods.
I see. Let me go to Bernard on this. So you say there are positive sides. Of course, yes. He also talks about the fact that, hey, it's okay to want to ban, but look at the demand. And 400,000 metric tons a year? How does that sit with you?
Okay, good morning, and good morning to viewers. Okay, so obviously what the professor said is just looking at one side of the situation.
Exactly.
He didn't actually take a very holistic view about it. As politicians, they will try and speak as politicians because they will try to save their side.
No, but he's in government. He's
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That he's a politician. Speaking as a politician, you try to speak. I mean, to make his side look a bit beautiful. But you have to see that it's a whole supply chain issue. I mean, when we come to consumption, like the executive secretary said. Obviously, Ghana cannot. It's supposed to be, if you have to ban, I mean, the local poultry industry do not have what it takes to be able to meet the demand. Now we had a situation here at a point in time. I mean, in the previous government, where usually what happens is that the local poultry industry, they also try to mount a lot of pressure.
Okay.
Because they also think that they should also make a living. And so they should produce, and what they are producing should be consumed so that they can also, make some revenue. But the issue is that they do not have the capacity. They are devil with lots of challenges. And until the government comes in to support them, they do not have what it takes to be able to meet this demand. And they rightly said, if you don't take care, you're trying to solve one problem, but by the time you realize you create more problems. You see, because obviously our nutritional needs is not just from let's say legumes like beans. We're having it from fish and from poultry. As you know, I think now they've curtailed even fish. Our farm our guys, those who go to the sea to bring fish, So you see that even fish, it's curtailed somewhat because people are not going to the sea to go bring. And now if you are saying that you have to curtail, poultry also, then what are you talking about? So it means that if people are going to consume food without a necessary nutritional requirement, like especially poultry, that means that you're going to have a weak workforce. Because it means that people are going to eat and they're not going to have the correct quantum that they're supposed to have. So when you have a weak workforce, what does it mean? It means that people cannot also think right, and productivity is going to go down. And if productivity goes down, and we're going to have a lot of sickness.
I see. So I'll come back to you and we'll talk about, because those calls I think should be, just as Michael will say, backed by data and then by extension some solutions, because they're in government, they have whatever policy they could formulate to ensure that if this is banned we could increase. But the Exim Frozen Foods Association, right now that dollar has increased so much, I'm too sure when you are importing you use dollars. Is it not also okay, I don't know how simplistic this will be though, but help me. It's not okay to say that, Charlie, you guys have money. Can you turn the fortunes of this country around by drawing those money instead of importing, establishing, the farms here that we can produce here, right here in Ghana?
Thank you very much. Like I said in my earlier submission, there are a lot of our members who are into local production.
So I'm saying that let's go further.
So I'll come to that. While our members are into local production, I think that what would really boost such an industry is to have a lot of government incentives going in there and availability of credit to people.
Tell me about some of the incentives before we go to the credit facility.
Okay, so largely I think that when you import into the country, there are some taxes that you pay when you're importing frozen foods. There are some taxes that you pay. I think on one of those tax components, there's some I think it's about 2 to 5% or 2.5% of it that is supposed to go back to the local industries. We want to see government put those monies there.
Now, as it stands, that component is not going back to local production.
You don't see what those local farmers are gaining from that 2.5% that they're taking from the import taxes.
Who answers these questions? Is it Association of Ghana Industries?
No, I think that these questions should be answered by the Ministry of Finance.
No, especially the impact.
The impact, should be the AGI.
So they would have these answers.
They would have these answers.
Right.
And like I said, if you look at it, yes, we should be able to invest there as citizens. But like I mentioned earlier, the issue is quite a huge issue. So I was talking about feed, and I don't want to go into some of these things. Recently, we witnessed what happened with free SHS in terms of the feed, the food that was supposed to go to the kids, the supplies. Now, the birds are going to compete with these kids for the same kind of feed, because the birds eat basically wheat, sorghum, soya, and corn.
Oh, really?
Yes, these are the foods that the birds eat. And if you want to really grow birds and grow them well, you need to feed them well. Everybody will tell you, like, people say you eat like a bird. It's because birds eat very well. Birds eat a lot. And so we need to look at it from the point where we're having a lot of buffer for our crop, to be able to feed even the birds at some incentivized prices for our local farmers. These are things that we need to look at. That is why I said that if you're importing feed into the country, this is not the time to talk about banning poultry.
But you think it was ill-informed?
I think it was ill-informed. I think that maybe sometimes you want to sound politically correct, and it's really a conversation that's going on. Let's ban frozen foods. Let's ban importation.
One wonders why he would be the one, because again, they are in power, and as I said, it skews to their benefit. He could tell the president to ensure that is done today. As to whether we can meet it, as to whether those other things could be done, that's left to them. Let me come back to Bernard. So largely, there's now the conversation on whether, I got to see the that particular tweet from the Russian embassy of how much we import into the country, and I cringed. Just in 2021, tons of millions of US dollars.
Especially from Europe.
Especially from Europe, as he says. Yeah. And for me, that's scary. So I don't know whether that could only be laid at the doorstep of the private people, but this is largely government. And so what should we be doing? Should we go back to him and probably explain these things to him and tell him maybe he goofed?
Okay, thank you again. So usually when it was the University of Ghana that organized at the political science department, and they organized as part of their 60th anniversary, they organized a talk, and then they brought him, and he's a political student, and so I think
a lecturer.
Yes, he's been a political lecturer, and so they had to invite him. But when you really want an authority, or when you want justice to be done to a topic, it's not just the fact that he is a lecturer in that department. You have to bring people that are already in that field, so that they can bring the issues to bear, because he, as a politician, like I said, he will try to bring his side. Now, if you're talking about FX issue in Ghana, it's not just with importation. We know, yes, importation plays a major role, but not just with importation. We also have a situation where we have this foreign investors that come in companies. They have the leeway to be able to remit or send their monies outside, and that is also a contributory factor. So it's not just with importation. Yes, we will not belabor the point that we do a lot of import, and so that also takes a greater chunk of it. But we have to look at other side also. Now, okay, so you're talking about the local industry also.
Yes, I have.
And I know of clients that are willing to even establish here. Okay, yes. There was a point that I knew some clients, they were willing to establish those huge poultry farms, bring the machines here, they would defeather, take away the feathers, cut into the respective part. We have the legs, the leg quarters, we have the wings, we have the backs, various part of the chicken that they cut, and then they freeze, and then they ship it outside. They're willing to bring these machines down, and then come and establish here, but they did not get the correct assistance here locally in Ghana. And
when you say correct assistance, what you're saying is they were frustrated.
Yes, frustrated. By by government. You see, the thing is that government is earning revenue. He's getting huge monies from the duties that we pay. Exactly. Okay, sometimes, because I had one client that in a month, if you aggregate the duties that she's paying no less than about 10 million Ghana cedis a month.
Huh?
Yes, I'm telling you. Because we have a situation that one person can bring, let's say, in a week about 50 containers.
And that's worth how much?
50 containers, that's more than getting to almost about 800,000 Ghana cedis, and more.
And they are paying how much on it?
What?
They are paying.
I'm talking about this is the duties that they are paying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, they are paying to government.
Yes, you pay duties on how much? You pay how much?
The duties,
let's say
800,000.
Yes, worth about 800,000. Say about 50 containers.
I thought it was the other way around.
Yes,
that's why I was a bit confused.
Easy. So when you aggregate that in a month, and then basically 2 months, 3 months, it is lots of money that the government gets.
So what you're saying is that I want us to unpack it.
Yeah.
So in one breath, government is so much interested in these
revenue.
This revenue.
Yes.
Yet someone probably linked to it is also saying let's ban it.
Yes.
And a businessman maybe comes in and then gets frustrated as well.
Yes.
What kind of system are we running there?
Yes.
Because I really don't understand.
Yes. So that is why what you're saying, what we always talk about is that every country wants to reduce import, right, and then maximize export,
right? Because
you get more foreign exchange. You understand? Because the pressures that we have on our CD is because of more more cities having to chase the dollar, and so there'll be pressure, and so it will keep going up. So when you have exports, virtually you bring in more FX, so it reduces the pressure on it. But on the one hand, you also don't want to lose the revenue. So what you have to do is that it has to be a balance. If you're saying that you have to cut down on import or have to ban, it cannot be a sudden thing, because one, we're talking about globalization. And if you're looking at it, it means that we have become a global village. I mean, we have become interlinked. And if you take one kind of policy, somebody can equally take another policy against you. And now, now we're saying that even, I think now we're saying even government, Ghana is saying we should not export our grains, because obviously, I mean, on the international food market, there's crisis.
I see.
So we want to curtail it. So if somebody should ban, then what are you talking about?
I don't know how many minutes we have to end this, but 0302908607. You can call us. Let's pick some calls and see what people have been saying. Over 300 million in 2018 was 300 million US dollars was spent in importing fish, green tea, preserved tomatoes, sugar and confectionery, sauces, ketchups, and others, garlic from China. Over 200 million US dollars was spent in importing. That's according to the tweet. And nobody, I'm not too sure the Agri Ministry has come to debunk this, so I'm still going by. This is a tweet from the Russian embassy when they were debunking claims that, the incessant claims of Ghana, saying that the Russia and Ukraine war had crippled the. So I'm just running you through how much it is that we ourselves spent in importing, not him, and not him, government, or if you like, in all of them, but largely it has to do with, if you like, how much that's being allowed into the country. When you go to Netherlands, 200 million US dollars worth of things. Poultry is there. I see poultry with United States of America as well, close to 92 million US dollars. No, a lot of them. So all of these people are. Stephen is on the line. Let's pick this call and come back to studio. Hi, Stephen. Hello, Stephen.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Please be snappy about it here.
Hello.
Yes, you're on air. Quickly, let's go.
All right, sure. Yeah.
Right.
So I would like to contribute to the topic discussed this morning. Yeah, it is important, right? Just like how the former speaker said, that these frozen foods and other agricultural products are banned in the country. But are we really ready for it? It is good that we ban them. Yes, everybody will love their economy to grow domestically. But is the country really ready for this? If it is banned today, look at the number of tons, over 400,000 tons of frozen food are bought outside the country yearly. The country is producing around 57,000. Look at the difference. Yeah. Okay, so at times when we are choosing topics and we want people to speak to the topic, we should look at the people who have the capacity to do justice to the cause. Yes, it is not anybody that we can call. It is important. Everybody will be happy to see the country producing its own products. Everything we need in the country, we need it to be produced in the country. Yes, we are ready. But our leaders have not been truthful to us all these years. Okay. Right? Somebody who wants to establish in the country is facing a lot of problems to establish himself or herself in the country to produce all the products we need. But what should we do? Okay, so I think your panelists are doing justice to the cause this morning, and I thank you so much for the
next thing for me is balance and appetite. Now, the balance is that is it the incentives and the lessening of the tax components on this that could create the balance that we do not overly depend on the importation or import too much than we produce? Can we have that balance?
Thank you very much. I think I would want to deal with the balance and the choices together, if you would allow me. I would treat balance and then, because somewhere between balance and choice.
Yeah. So I want us to treat it differently. So we'll take a break soon. So start off with the balance here.
Okay. So I think that obviously if you give incentives, it would create some balance for the local industries to be able to come up, because like I said, if you're doing just about 57,000 metric tons or even 58,000 metric tons and you need 400,000 metric tons, you need to do something to push that number up. So let's say if the local industry is able to do somewhere around 150, 200 metric tons, obviously it brings down the volumes that we're importing.
importing.
And when we bring down the volumes that we're importing, obviously it affects the forex, because then you wouldn't need so much to go and bring so much chicken.
I see. Let's take Dr. Mohammed and I'll come back. So Dr. Mohammed is on the line. Hi, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, you're on it.
Yeah. In fact, I'm following your thoughts, and I think it's very good and important to contribute. Actually, for a country like this, where our import is more than our export, and our local producers are not being encouraged, it's pathetic. Before you can stop something like this, you have to first improve your local production. Look at the margin. Have we actually covered the margin? Can the local production take care of the citizens? What is that we thought? Or you trying to say you are going to stop the importation of this kind of goods? If you stop it, ultimately you are going to create road. You are going to create road for people that are going to smuggle things in, and they will start smuggling the bad ones, the ones that are not good, and this will cause a big problem into the country. So I think I go with what the speaker said. The other guys, local production. When you are trying to improve local production, you open more employment for people.
Okay.
They go come in agriculture.
Okay, we lost Dr. Mohammed there, but still making the point to want to look at what must be put in. The foundations must be laid before we even think about banning. But we'll take a break at this point. When we come back, we'll talk about, again, that balance, where we can have a balance where at least we are doing close to the same. How we are producing, the quantum we are producing here is the same as what we import in, so that the balance is there. We still have what we grow, because look, the more we import here, sometimes if not checked well as well, we're buying some disease for ourselves. So we still have Michael Obri J, executive member and spokesperson, Eggs and Frozen Foods Association of Ghana, and of course Bernard Nature Appiah is Michael Obri J, executive member and spokesperson, Eggs and Frozen Foods Association Ghana. Bernard Nature Appiah is a member of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders PR team. They are my guests. We're talking about that call for outright ban on importation of chicken, foreign juices, and other agri products from Professor Michael Quay, who was delivering a lecture, one of the lectures organized by the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, Legon, of course, by way of their marking their 60th anniversary. And so what it means is that we have established that it is impossible even to talk about that if you have not laid the foundation. But let's talk about then the experience with these business people. Of course, Bernard is into the issues of container. So when Michael goes to engage with businesses outside to bring the chicken, the value chain where Bernard plays, what role he plays in the value chain is that he's the one that clears the container and all that. I hope your names are too heavy. So I want to make it. I'm not sounding simplistic though. don't do that to me. Anyway, so I mean, let's walk through our experiences once more. So I'm talking about balance. You say it is going to be difficult to strike that balance.
I'm not saying it's going to be entirely difficult to strike that balance. I'm saying that if you provide tax incentives for the local producers, and like I said, most of our people are also doing local production. So if the conditions are right to produce locally, whereas we will not be able to totally ban or stop importation, because like I explained offset to you, that there are countries like in Africa, like South Africa, they are the largest importers, and they're also the largest, they're one of the largest exporters.
Of what?
Of chicken.
They are the largest importers.
Yes.
And largest exporters.
So sometimes what you produce, so that would have brought me to choices. That would have brought me to choices because the consumer has preferences. You need to look at the kind that is coming in, maybe the sizes and all of that, and it would determine whether your local market wants everything that you're producing, because there are some markets that don't have at all, and they would be willing to take what you are producing, whether it's maybe even if it's not as big as in terms of the sizes, it's not as big as what you are importing. They would want to take that from you. There are other countries that would want to take that. So like I said, it would be totally, for me, I think that where we've gotten to as the world, it would be totally impossible to say that let's stop the importation of frozen chicken. I think that we can do things like provide tax incentives for our local producers, make sure that perhaps government through their 1D, 1F is setting up some production centers like factories.
But he just told you that somebody was coming into the country.
That's what I'm saying. That government. So I'm saying that government.
Maybe government cannot do it.
So if they can't do it, or then they should know that this is not the time to be making such calls.
All right.
You get where the point is going. So like I'm saying, we can strike that balance if we're able to shore up local production. Because if local production goes up, the demand it's really a demand and supply thing. If the demand is 400,000 metric tons and you have 500,000 metric tons in the system, it would be a surplus. So most often than not, the Ministry of Agri, before giving you a license to be able to import or giving you a quota to be able to import, they would want to make sure that you're not coming to suffocate the local industry. And so if our local industry shores up, then we would not have to depend so much on the export. The export numbers would come down. And if it comes down, it helps our people too, because our people are local producers too.
I see. How do you then answer questions on choices? I mean, you can also tie that in with balance. But choices, I see we are so much in love with foreign goods. And maybe, just maybe, that's where he's coming from. Maybe he didn't put it right. But the love for foreign goods, to the extent that toothpick and some of these things, maybe that's where he's coming from. What do you say? Because you stay there, you bring the containers in, and people, slippers. I mean, is it not worrying?
Okay, so I think Prof was talking about industrialization.
Yes.
That for any country to develop, we need to industrialize, because we see what goes around. I mean, recently I was seeing something on social media, and I saw a whole heap of yam, and then the person was saying it is 100 cedis, but you come to town and you see them holding in the arm like this, and that is 100 cedis.
Oh really? That's how much you sell it?
Oh yes, I mean
about three
or
tubers
four,
or 4
The ones I see them around the psychiatric hospital.
Yes, or sometimes 50 cedis, 100 cedis, depends on the size of it.
But they are holding it. It's a lot of work. You don't know.
So it means that because of let's say the transportation or the other factors that it comes to bear, because sometimes you see tomatoes, when at the time that we have the bumper harvest, you see so much on the market, you see it rotted within a matter of 3 months or 6 months, everything is gone, and we have to now go to import. Now we are even importing tomatoes from Burkina, Mali, and I think about it and it's so saddening. So it is a good clear call that if we have to industrialize, then we should look within. Okay, but the thing is that you have to look at the time factor that you are calling for such, because I know, look at the toll booth, for instance. When we at the time that having the tolling system, you get there and you have huge vehicles that are lined up to go through. But I know in a country like Dubai, when they started to industrialize and started to do well, to automate, they started from where the industrialized countries have reached. So what they're doing, they're doing an e-tolling system. So when you are driving on the highway, you see a banner that approaching a toll booth, but you get there, there's no toll booth. Just that when you get there, the system has a way of deducting from it. Yes. Okay, the system has a way of deducting, and so you don't have to go and join a queue and have to go through the toll. I think that they are saying that they are trying to bring the toll booth system. They have to look at more of the E, so that when we reach there, we can just drive through. Okay, so then we come to the issue of the choices, like you're saying. Okay, I know that we have a huge taste for foreign products, but it means that if we have to look at this, we have to start from the scratch. We know China closed themselves in, and then make sure that people consume what they produce before they open up. And when they open up, yes, now they've industrialized, they are getting all the monies, because
and that call for industrialization must not be placed at your doorstep.
Yes.
They have to fix it as government,
yes.
the policies.
Yes.
And then draw you in.
Yes, and draw in. You understand? So it is not like you're saying. It's not something that can be started. All of a sudden you say that. This is it. We are going to, as if we are in a dictatorial or in a military regime. This is what you are going, because we see what is happening in other countries where the military has taken over, and AU has gone into to put in all those kind of sanctions, and eventually who suffers? Is the ordinary person that suffers, because they are controlling the affairs. They will enjoy anyhow. So if you say that you're placing a ban, okay, one, you're cutting down, because I know there's people that import. I know one client that has about 350 staff that they pay every month. So if you have to ban, then what happens to all this workers?
What do you say when people, before I come back to Michael Bernard, what do you say when people say, look, you are always going to defend this because that's where you do business, and so no matter how we conceiving the positive more than the negative, you are going to defend this? What do you say?
No, it's completely wrong. We are not. See, if we had a situation that we also have to export, because mind you, our business is not just about import. We also do import, we do export as well. We export for others as well. So imagine you have a situation where we have to export
enough to eat and being export.
It still comes back to us.
Right.
You see, it's neither here nor there.
Right.
But the thing is that, like we're saying, the world has become a global village. Okay, where we interdepend on each other. Okay, we have China that consumes a lot of poultry. Okay, so sometimes now we are looking at where we are now, even as a world, where we have shortage of food. Okay, so if you have to place this kind of restriction, okay, somebody will say, okay, now we are not going to export to Africa anyway. We are not going to even export to Ghana. Then what happens?
There's a lot of frustration in the system, even with how you go through the things in the port, not even with the freight forwarders. Politicians coming, or the top people coming, order from above comes in, but you're still in the business. It must be very lucrative.
I don't think we're in the business because it is necessarily lucrative. If nobody was stealing from us, then it would be exactly lucrative. And even with that, like I said, for a businessman, when you put your money somewhere, you want to at least break even
or make profit.
And so the idea of making profit is really so much of being a lucrative business. That's why we keep on complaining that, look, these kind of underhand dealings that happens at the port, where people take people's cargo and sell them for cheap, should not really be the order of the day if we want to do the thing in the interest of Ghana. I can tell you that I know members that have taken ill to stroke because of the shock they had from their cargo being confiscated and all of that. It really has some very negative impact on our economy as citizens, and it's not that it is lucrative. That is why people continue to do the business. If you don't do the business, you would go hungry anyways, so you need to do it.
I see. So the underhand dealings, it falls back to you. I don't know how we will manage this, and you see, for all of you are all afraid to mention it, especially on air. How do we then bring it to the fore that people could see? Maybe some investigation? Should ANAS come there?
Okay.
Because it's affecting their business. It's affecting yours as well.
Yes.
I'm too sure when you promise him that I'll take care of these containers, and then you go and there are these underhand dealings, you are affected. Your business, nobody trusts you. You cannot do the job.
Yes, we affected. I would say even that was in last year December. We had a lot of the reefer boxes that were confiscated. Were taken by the state, because they say that after a particular number of days, automatically it goes to state warehouse. That is government takes over. Okay, so the thing is, there are a whole lot of factors that come into play when you have to clear these boxes. okay, from the port. And so sometimes when they give you, I know the reason why they put those measures in place was, one, I know it is to curtail a situation where we have congestion in the port. But we had those issue of congestion when MPS didn't come into play. Then it was just GAPO, it was just Ghana Port and Harbour Authority. But now we have MPS that had huge space, and the place is almost becoming like a transit corridor. So we have huge space. So I think that we have to look at the issue of the number of days here, because it is hugely capital intensive.
How many days would you need to clear a container? Before you are charged for with some penalties?
Okay, on the average, you don't need much. Within a matter of a week, you don't. If somebody
with so what's the structure? So to say when you bring a container, come clear it within how many days?
That's I'm saying that. It depends. Okay, so the shipping lines, what they do is that they give you some number of free days. Sometimes they give you 5 days within which to clear the box. If you don't clear that, you incur what they call demurrage. That's the kind of penalty. Others will also give you 14 days depending on the number of boxes involved. Okay, so there's no clear. The thing is that if you clear it as fast as possible, it inures your own benefit because you avoid all those extra overheads. So it's in everybody.
What's the 14-day rule that I get to hear that if you don't clear, they might seize your containers? Is that true?
No, it's not 14. It's after 21 days.
It's 21 days.
After 21 days, it goes to UCL. That is uncleared cargo list. It means that list, it goes to a list of cargo that has not been cleared. 21 days. But what I was saying is that it's not really feasible because the whole lot of things that come into play. One, it is hugely capital intensive. So a situation where, let's say, you have about 10 boxes, you need to raise capital, raise money to pay for the duties. Now, when we're talking about benchmark issue, when the benchmark was reversed from the 50% to the 70%. Now, on the average, let's say one box of leg quarter that they could pay about, let's say, 60,000. Now you are paying close to 100,000. Okay, so it's sort of almost like doubled. Okay, and so when it comes, you need money to clear this. And the thing is that these importers, they turn around their money. Okay, I bring containers, I sell the same money I used to pay. Okay, but sometimes they sell on credit, and when it goes to when these people to have to sell, when those who also come to buy also buy on credit, thinking that they will sell and bring back the money, but sometimes it doesn't go as planned.
I see.
And so they don't have immediately money to pay. Sometimes they have to also pay their suppliers before they get a release to clear this cargo. So when you say within 21 days, if you don't come and clear, I'm taking over.
I see. And let's pick this call and come back, and I'll come back to Michael. Johnny is calling us from Tema. Johnny. Hello, Johnny.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning. You're on air.
Yes, just a quick contribution. Firstly, I would like to say Michael and Netta are doing very good in terms of the topic being discussed. My contribution basically is on the issue of the port, where we have some people come through as being sent from wherever and picking frozen cargo. I mean, this is something that has to be looked at and critically. You have people coming all over with some fictitious documentation called chits or whatever they call them, and they're picking containers out without the notice of importers. You have importers who have actually paid duties on their cargo, and when they are ready, they go to the port and the cargo cannot be found.
How?
And I'm surprised at yes. I'm telling you.
No, I bet, Johnny, the shipping line should be able to answer for that. Oh?
It's not the shipping line. The shipping lines are in the port. They have no idea what's going on in the port. These cargo are basically taken to the state warehouse or under the state warehouse region. And that is where the issue is. So basically, the officer in charge of the state warehouse should be able to look at this and say, look, whether this documentation is indeed correct or not. And I don't think these people should even be tolerated. They should not even be looked at, because the point is that there's a system that customs has built, and everybody is supposed to go through that system. Somebody comes holding, brandishing a paper, and then or brandishing an ID, and it's allowed into that space, and they are picking containers left, right, center. I think this thing is something that has to be done. Don't forget that it's not just about frozen cargo, but it's cargo all through. I mean, you have business people or even school people have just gone out of university, gone to the bank to get some loans. They pay about 60% of the cargo. They come to town and then trying to sell the rest of the 40% before they realize the cargo is taken out.
John is clear. So I'll come back to say thank you very much for that as well. So I hear State House. Am I hearing clear? What's the State House?
It's the state's warehouse. It's the
Which state?
The state's Ghana, our warehouse. So
what's happening there? What happens there?
So when you bring your cargo and then they need to move it, the state takes control over it. The state moves it to the state's warehousing.
To do what?
That's where it's kept, because then the idea that you have overstayed your time at the terminal.
It's after the 21 days.
Yes,
is that what I'm getting?
Okay, so the state warehouse, it is just okay. So the queue is taken from the dry cargo. You see, the thing is that like when we import, we have a place that we keep the things till the owners come to clear them.
Not the shipping line.
It's not the shipping line. It's the owner. Who has to come forward by paying processing the necessary document and then
take it from there.
And taking it from there.
Okay.
So when after a particular time, you don't come and pick it, they try to put it somewhere else. Okay, just to try to decongest the space so that they can take.
Okay, but you are aware, the importer, you are aware that your container is there at the State House.
Okay, so what happens is that we have places that we keep this reefer boxes because it is plugged. These are reefer boxes. They have to be plugged because it's meat. If you don't plug it, it can go bad. Okay. So we have places that they keep this even for the normal clearance.
Yeah. So I just want to know. I understand. So after the importer is aware. That my container has gotten there. I've not been able to clear it. Finally, it has gotten to the state warehouse.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that it is not like it is moved from there to another place.
No,
that's why it will still be there.
It will still
but in the system, it will be designated as going to state warehouse or UCL.
So what is Johnny talking about? That at some point people come to take it away.
Yes. So if it goes to UCL or if it goes to the state warehouse, now what happens is that it's like the government has taken over. We had a situation. The government has taken over. We had even also issue with the cars as well. So when government takes over, what happens is that 70% is allocated to Flagstaff House and 30% go to customs, Ghana Customs. So
wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah.
So the 70% to Flagstaff House for what? For them to eat?
Because now the state has taken over. Yes. So the state has taken over. Okay. So what happens?
So the state is not interested in any further cost so that they could leave those containers.
Okay, yes. So the thing, because the thing is that if I incur costs, supposing I'm supposed to clear, let's say within 21 days, and I don't come to clear for whatever reason, so I'm saying that no one will deliberately leave their boxes there and then incur all those costs because every businessman wants to cut down costs and maximize profit. But due to certain cogent reasons like assessing money to pay for all.
Yeah, I get that. You see, the reason why I'm asking. What does Flagstaff House and Custom do with it is that, let's say today, it's over there at the state warehouse. My taxes is being used to pay because it's plugged just as you to keep it alive, so to speak, so that it doesn't go bad. Now, if the importer does not go over there, the idea is that the state warehouse is confiscating it because you have not been able to count. Then that's what. So it's sold. The money is put back in the coffers, or it's eaten by people at the Flagstaff House.
Okay, so that is supposed to be the case, that it is sold and the money is put into government's chest. Okay. But the thing is that because the thing is you have to look at it. It's being auctioned. So the thing is that
is the auction done in the clear view of people?
No. You see.
So these are the underhand.
Yes. So what happens is that they issue a cheat. Okay, they issue a cheat, and then when they issue the cheat, within 14 days you are supposed to go clear it. Now after 14 days, if you don't go to clear it, the same cargo is given to somebody else. Okay, so what happens is that these people are not importers, they are not dealers in frozen, they are business people, so they end up in the hands of private individuals. So they try to get people to buy it, and sometimes a container that you buy it at say about $40,000, you come to pay. There's some that you haven't paid duty on it. and then they issue cheat to other people, and sometimes they sell as low as 20,000 Ghana cedis, sometimes 10,000 Ghana cedis. Okay.
That's it.
Yes. So after 14 days, we don't clear. They give it to somebody. If after 14, the person also like is given to. We had a situation in December where about 2 people came together, also holding cheat for the same container, claiming ownership of it, and they even have to pull a gun on it. And somebody was starting to shoot the other. You understand? So these are all frustrating issues, and at the end of the day, I had a situation where my client lost about 5 containers because we couldn't clear on time.
I see. So I'm not too sure we can do it. So quickly, some few seconds, then we can wrap up, because with that underhand dealings, you guys cannot even speak to it. Maybe we would have to send Anas there to
So for us at the Frozen Foods, what I would want to say is that on this particular subject, first of all, we would want to really show appreciation to the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, especially the Tema District, the chairman of the Tema District, Mr. John Mante. We've sent a lot of memos in respect to this particular matter to him, and we've seen him and his team work to find some solutions to us, and together with all the freight forwarders there at Tema, like himself, Johnny, and co, we really appreciate their efforts, and we're hoping that some way, somehow, we'll be able to see some conclusion to this matter. Now to the issue that brought us here, the ban of importation.
I think we've spoken about that.
Okay, I thought you said you wanted our last.
So look, yeah, of course, we've gotten that. Do come by. Let's come by.
Sure.
Again. Let's have this conversation more. Let's have a part 2 of it, because I'm interested in that underhand dealing and how we can save these businesses of these people, and of course, so that you can stay in business. Bernard Nature, a peer member, Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders PR team, Michael Obri, a J, executive member and spokesperson, Exim Frozen Foods Association Ghana. I pray that all of these things are uncovered, especially the rots sometimes are uncovered, because you see, it sells us in a bad light for people who are outside and think Ghana is a safe haven to do business, and they come and these things, these machinations, I think we need to uncover them so that people's name, government, Jubilee House, customs are saved. If there are people under doing this job, one day they should be brought out so that we all will see.